The Jesus Trilogy, Book 1, The Four Messiahs, Chapter 35. Mary and Joseph, both exhausted, slept until 9. Little Jesus nursed every 2 hours. Hungry little guy, Mary thought. Joseph, Joseph, she said, shaking her husband who was lying next to her in the stall. We must go. Remember what the angel said? What angel? Joseph rolled over. Up, up. Joseph rubbed the sleep from his eyes and squinted at Mary and the baby. The morning sun shone bright in his eyes. He then looked about. No angels, no star. Only Chester was still there. We must go. That's what I said, dear. Right, sorry. His eyes softened. Congratulations, Mary, and thank you for the wonderful gifts, your son and your love. He leaned over and kissed her on the lips. He immediately felt the urge for more. Mary recognized the passion in his eyes, how she longed to love him, so big, so strong, so caring. But there would be time for that. Besides, she was very, very sore. I love you, but what? But we have to go. He kissed her again, then arose and began to ready for travel. Mary rolled over and let out a little scream. Baby Jesus jumped, but then continued in his tranquil slumber. He's such a quiet baby. I wonder if there's something wrong with him, Mary asked. Looks healthy as a horse to me, Joseph said, looking up at Chester. He hadn't budged. All the other horses were outside in the little pasture, but Chester was still inside. Strange, Joseph thought out loud. What's strange? He realized he was worrying Mary. Nothing, Mary, just that horse. He's still in the barn. Must be watching over us, Mary said with a wry smile. Joseph got up and began saddling Doris, the donkey. Just then Victor appeared. How are you folks doing? Fine, just fine. Say, you folks maybe should take old Chester there. No, we couldn't. Now that your family is bigger, I don't think what's-her-name will be able to carry the load. This is most generous, but we couldn't. No, we'll get by, Joseph said. I insist. Think of it as a gift to your baby. I'll keep. Doris, Joseph prompted. I'm mighty grateful. If there is anything ever we can do for you, let us know. Breakfast is ready, Florence beamed. I got out my good china. It's not the highest quality, but it's the best I've got. I hope it fits for our new little king. How are you, dear, and how is the little fellow? She finally stopped so Mary could speak. Fine, fine, but you shouldn't have. But it's the least I can do. Florence was beaming. She knew she was witnessing something very wonderful and actually had taken part in a momentous event. She didn't know what it all meant, but she was confident she would find out in due time. I'll serve you right here so you don't have to move. Florence knelt down with a burled wooden tray for spreading white inlaid cloth down on the hay. The cloth was decorated with green and red figures of bells with a gold trim on the border. It's a beautiful cloth, Mary admired. It's yours, dear, our gift to the little king. Oh, I couldn't take it. You've both done so much, Mary said. I insist. It was our pleasure, Florence said. You are most generous. God will reward you, Mary said. He always does, dear. He always does. Just then Victor came running back into the stable. There are soldiers coming this way from the city gate. The messenger said it looked like 100 or so. I don't know what it means, but I thought you should know. Thanks, Joseph said, the smile of love now changing to a frown of concern. Hurry, Mary, we must be off. To where? He thought for a moment, then said, Egypt. Egypt? They may want to harm the baby. Here, let me help you up, Florence said to Mary. Victor, take the baby, she said to her husband. Me? Just take him. He won't hurt you. Joseph quickly got the horse saddled and hurriedly packed up and slung the gear on the back of Chester's huge hind quarter. He did not have much more to carry, especially with all the gifts. The gold was heavy, but Joseph knew he could manage. After all, God was on his side. In fact, God was with him in the flesh. A very sobering thought indeed. It would take him a long time to adjust to that. But there was no time for thought. They must hit the road. Joseph hoisted Mary on the horse. She cried out in pain, but got adjusted, side saddle. I think I hear horses, Victor said. Then they heard an awful scream. Chills went down all four of their spines. Victor said, "Here, Florence, you take the baby. I'll go up front and stall them. Take the back way out, Florence. Give him directions. There is a break in the old south wall. No guard. Go through there and head south. Don't stop for anything. Please, God, protect us and your son," Joseph prayed silently. He was a strong man. He could certainly lick the likes of Shimei, but even he was no match for a company of Roman soldiers. Florence handed the baby to Mary. Little Jesus remained in dreamland. By now the soldiers were at the front door. One cry would have spelled disaster for the little group. "Thank goodness this is a contented child," Mary said, smiling. "Just like his mother," Joseph agreed. "Come on, Chester, let's move out." Joseph patted the horse's rump and led him back out the door of the stable. They waved to Florence and disappeared around the corner of the rocky rise through the break in the wall, bound for Egypt. Not 5 seconds later, the military company with George in the forefront appeared at the stable door. "Where are they?" George roared. "Can I help you, officer?" Victor volunteered. Florence was still in back, cleaning up all signs of the night's activities. She moved Doris into the stall where Mary had been. Major Rowan, the leader of the expedition, stepped forward. "My sergeant tells me you had boarders in the stable last night, a man and wife. Did he give you a name?" Rowan looked at George, who added, "I don't know their names, but I'm sure they were here." "If I don't have a name, I'm afraid I can't help you, Major," Victor said coolly. "They were here, Rowan. A father, a big guy, and a mother and a baby, and there were angels." Some of the other soldiers in the company began to snicker. Rowan looked up skeptically. "I saw them all, Rowan. Hundreds of angels." "Attention," Rowan barked. He was a large, imposing man. There was immediate silence. "We do have many boarders, this new tax and all, but I don't recall anyone by the name of Angel." Despite the attentive pose of the company, there were now more laughs. "Oh, you idiot. There were angels, lots of them." More laughs now. Even Major Rowan cracked a smile. "I assure you, officer, I've never had a boarder who purported to be an angel." Now everyone broke out into gales of laughter. That is all except George and Victor. Victor knew he had to keep a straight face. His life and the baby's depended on it. George was livid. Finally the slaughtered laughter died down. Rowan regained his composure and said, "Sir, could we?" He lost it again, and there were more gales of laughter. Finally they were laughed out. "Sir?" "Yes, Major." "Rowan, is it?" "Yes. Could we search the premises?" "Have you a warrant?" Everyone in the room realized the risk that Victor took by saying this. "No, but I could get one in about a half hour." Rowan took a step closer to the smallish Victor and said, "You could save us a lot of trouble if I don't have to go back and get one." "I understand, Major." Victor had carried the charade about as far as he could. He hoped by this time that Florence had gotten everything cleaned up. He didn't want trouble with the Roman authorities, who could make things miserable for anyone who did not cooperate fully with their demands. More than one citizen had simply disappeared, never to be heard from again. Rumor had it they were sold as slaves at the auctions at Tyre. No one really knew, and Victor preferred not to find out. "Victor, who are these men?" Florence asked sternly. "We just wanted to search the inn, ma'am." Rowan's eyes lit up at the sight of Florence, who was very pretty for her age. "We have reason to believe there is a couple with a baby here. We just want to talk to them." Rowan stared at Florence as he fingered the guest book. Thank goodness Joseph didn't have time to sign in, she thought. Her hands were beginning to shake visibly. There are 3 boarders here now, the old couple in 6, the traveling wine salesman in 3, and the McKelly, the artist, in room 2. Victor helped her out. "Go ahead, officer. Take all the time you like," Florence said, her voice still trembling. "Corporal, take 3 men and look around." George started after the 4 soldiers. "Attention, Sir George," Rowan bellowed. But, sir, I said attention, Roan snapped. Roan did not like wild goose chases, nor did he like being made a fool of. Tea, Major? Florence offered. I thank you. He thought Florence to be a fine-looking woman. How she'd pick up with this little Roman fellow. It surely is a strange world. Presently the four returned. The corporal said, just as the woman said, 3 rooms occupied, 4 empty, a stable out back. Didn't see a thing except an old donkey. Nearly bit my hand when I got close to her. Sorry to have troubled you folks. Roan bowed in the direction of Florence. My apologies from King Herod. He turned to his company and said, Company, march! George gave him a look that could kill, but there was nothing more he could do. He would be the laughing-stock of the army for a long time to come. Only he could have found some evidence. Angels, muttered Roan.